Hello and welcome to the show. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samithinjaya. Ashwatthama Vikarnascha Somadattisthathavacha.
Today, we're really zeroing in on one specific verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Chapter-1, Verse-8.
That's right. You brought this one to us, and it looks, well, pretty straightforward at first glance, doesn't it? Just a list of names.
Exactly. But our goal here isn't just to read the list.
Right.
We want to dig deeper, unpack what this verse actually tells us about the whole situation, the people involved, even the psychology going on just before this huge war kicks off.
Precisely. We're giving the interpretation provided, which really gets into the details. And the mission really is to understand why this verse is there. Why these names? It's more than just an inventory.
Yeah, it's about finding that deeper meaning, the so what for us today. How could this ancient text maybe give us some insights? So let's just jump right in. What's the verse itself?
Okay, so the Sanskrit is Bhavan Banafka Karechka Kanapasa Samitinjaya. Ashwatthama Vikarnashka Soyatatistatavaka.
Okay, and the translation you provided is pretty direct. You, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Vikarna, and the son of Samadatta. All of you are great heroes and warriors victorious in battle.
Seemed simple enough.
Right, like a roll call.
Mm.
But then you start thinking, why these guys specifically? I mean, who are they really, and what's their deal in this conflict? And maybe the biggest question, what does it say about Duryodhana himself that he's doing this listing right now?
Those are exactly the right questions because, yeah, it sounds like a statement of fact, but it's really more like a little window into his head, isn't it? Right at this super tense moment.
Okay, let's explore that. Duryodhana, he's got this huge army, right? Massive force. He's facing the Pandavas, but then he starts naming his top warriors. It doesn't really scream pure confidence, does it?
No, it kind of hints at the opposite, maybe. Some underlying insecurity. It's fascinating, actually. He commands this enormous power, yet he feels this need to verbally tick off his key players. It's almost like he's trying to pump himself up, reassure himself as much as anyone else listening.
It makes me think of, like, everyday stuff. When you're facing something tough, maybe a big presentation or, I don't know, a difficult conversation, don't you sometimes mentally list your qualifications or think about who supports you?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a self-pep talk, but it often comes from nervousness, right?
Yeah.
Not rock-solid belief. Have you ever done that? Found yourself listing reasons why you should be okay?
That's a really good parallel, yeah. This verse isn't just logistics, it's psychology. Duryodhana's list gives us this little glimpse into his anxieties, the cracks maybe under that surface, right as everything's about to explode.
Okay, so with that psychology in mind, let's get into the who's who here. He names 6 individuals, plus himself implicitly. Let's take them one by one. What's their story, and how does it complicate things for Duryodhana? First one is Bhishma.
Right, Bhishma. He's the grandsire. A total legend, an incredible warrior, but he's bound by this really strict vow to serve the throne of Hastinapur, which the Kauravas now hold.
But, and this is a big but, isn't it?
Huge. His love, his respect, it's really with the Pandavas, his other grandsons. So his heart is absolutely not in winning this war for Duryodhana.
So he's fighting for Duryodhana because of duty, because of his word, not because he wants Duryodhana to win. That sounds unstable.
Extremely.
The commander of your army doesn't actually want you to succeed. Is Duryodhana just trying to, use Bhishma's reputation, even knowing this?
That's a really sharp point. It raises big questions about leadership, doesn't it? What's loyalty worth if the person's core beliefs aren't aligned with yours? It's like having, I don't know, a star player who secretly hopes the other team scores.
Okay, next on the list. Karna. Now, his relationship with Duryodhana is totally different, right?
Completely different. Karna is an amazing warrior, maybe Arjuna's equal in skill, but his loyalty to Duryodhana is super personal, incredibly strong.
Why is that?
Because Duryodhana was basically the only one who saw his worth and stood by him when everyone else shunned him because of questions about his birth, his caste. That acceptance created this massive debt of gratitude, this unbreakable bond.
So Bhishma is duty, Karna is personal loyalty.
Okay.
But isn't there a catch with Karna? Something about him not fighting initially.
Yes, another complication. Karna vowed he wouldn't fight as long as Bhishma was leading the army. There was some friction there.
So Duryodhana is boasting about this key warrior who's actually on the bench for the start of the game.
Pretty much. It again shows these internal limitations or tensions within his own camp. He's listing his assets, but one of the biggest ones is temporarily unavailable because of internal politics, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, third name, Kritipacharya, the royal teacher. What's his role here?
Kripa, or Kripacharya, yeah. Another highly respected figure, skilled archer, taught both sets of cousins, the Kauravas and Pandavas. Like Bhishma, he's there out of duty to the kingdom.
But again, maybe not fully invested in Duryodhana's personal cause.
Seems likely. He's a professional doing his job. Highly competent, bound by his position, but probably lacking that deep personal conviction for Duryodhana's victory. You know, think about work. Sometimes people are excellent at their jobs, but are they passionate about this specific project's success or just fulfilling their role?
So another powerful piece on the board, but maybe not playing with full enthusiasm for the king himself. It keeps pointing to this idea of like a team full of stars, but maybe no real team spirit.
That's a great way to put it. It really highlights that difference between just having skills and having genuine commitment, a shared purpose. You need both, right?
Definitely. Okay, next is Ashwatthama. He's Dronacharya's son. What's his deal?
Ashwatthama, known for, well, immense power, fiercely loyal to his father, Drona, a truly formidable warrior. But he's also known for being impulsive, maybe a bit volatile, emotionally unstable, perhaps.
So raw power, but maybe unpredictable. A potential loose cannon?
Could be. Including him suggests Duryodhana might be valuing pure, brute strength, maybe overlooking the need for stability or careful strategy.
Does that ever work out well? Just prioritizing raw power, ignoring the potential downsides. Seems risky.
It certainly raises questions about the kind of strength Duryodhana is banking on. Is it controlled, disciplined power, or just overwhelming force, kind of regardless of the consequences down the line?
Interesting. After Ashwatthama, he mentions Vikarna. Now, Vikarna is actually one of Duryodhana's brothers, right?
Yeah.
But he's different.
Yes, very interesting case. Vikarna is a Kaurava brother, but he's famous for being the only one in that assembly who spoke out against the public humiliation of Draupadi.
Wow. Okay, so he actually stood up for what was right against his own side.
He did. It shows he had a moral compass, a sense of justice that seemed lacking in his brothers.
Yet here he is, lined up to fight for Duryodhana, despite disagreeing on such a fundamental, awful event.
It highlights the incredible pressure, doesn't it? Family duty, loyalty to the clan, maybe just the sheer momentum of the situation pulling him along, even against his own conscience. Have you ever seen that? People going along with something they don't fully agree with because of group pressure or obligation?
Oh, definitely. It speaks to that internal conflict he must have felt. Recognizing wrong, but still tied by allegiance. It's a tough spot.
A very tough spot. It shows how personal ethics can clash hard with these external demands.
Okay, and the last one named specifically is Sumadati, who is also called Bhurisrava.
Yes, the son of Somadatta, Bhurisrava. He represents the older generation of warriors. Very experienced, seasoned fighter.
So why mention him to add, like, gravitas? Experience.
Probably. Duryodhana is showing off not just individual power, but also the depth of experience, the weight of tradition on his side. Bhurisrava connects to that older martial heritage.
Got it. So adds experience to the mix. But maybe, like Bhishma and Kripa, that experience comes without the, burning desire to see Duryodhana personally win.
It fits the pattern, doesn't it? It's a showcase of strength, of skill, of experience, but potentially masking this lack of unified spirit, that deep shared conviction.
Okay, so we've gone through the list, which brings us to a really big question. Who is not on this list? Who's missing?
Yeah, this is quite striking. The most glaring omission is Dronacharya.
Duryodhana's own guru, the teacher who taught him basically everything about warfare. Ashwatthama's father, who is on the list. Why leave Drona out?
It's baffling, isn't it? Drona was immensely powerful, hugely respected. Why wouldn't Duryodhana lead with him, or at least include him in this initial power roll call? Any thoughts on why?
Well, maybe. Maybe Duryodhana doubted Drona's loyalty too. Drona also taught the Pandavas, loved Arjuna especially. Maybe Duryodhana wasn't sure Drona would fight wholeheartedly against them.
That's a very plausible theory. That insecurity again. Maybe he felt Drona's affections were too divided.
Or maybe it was strategic. Like, save the big gun announcement for later. Or maybe, was it a power move? Duryodhana trying to show he's the boss, not relying on his teacher's name.
All possibilities. It's fascinating how this one omission speaks volumes. It really suggests Duryodhana's insecurity might run so deep he even questions his own mentor. It shows how fear can, twist how we see things, make us distrust even our allies.
Yeah, it really connects to that idea of anxiety distorting perception. You start seeing shadows, questioning loyalty, even when there's maybe no reason to. We see that in leadership sometimes today, right? A leader's own fears creating a toxic or suspicious environment.
Absolutely. It undermines trust. It breaks down cohesion. When leadership is driven by fear, not confidence or purpose, it rarely ends well.
Okay, so pulling back from the specifics, looking at this verse as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
what are the big lessons here? The takeaways that might still resonate today for someone listening?
Well, I think there are a few key things. First, it's a powerful illustration of how often outward confidence can be a mask for self-doubt. Duryodhana's big talk about his heroes kind of gives away his own anxiety. Have you seen that? People who talk the loudest are sometimes the most unsure.
All the time. It's a reminder not to always take that bravado at face value. Sometimes it's compensating.
Exactly. Second, the mix of people on the list really highlights the difference between just having skilled people and having genuinely loyal people who share your purpose. He's got talent, no doubt, but many are there out of duty or personal debt, not because they truly believe in his cause.
Right.
And that tells us in any project, any team, that alignment, those shared values are often way more important than just raw skill. What makes your teams work? Is it just talent or something more?
That's so true for any kind of collaboration. You can have all the experts, but if they're not pulling together, if they don't trust each other or believe in the goal, it falls apart.
Yeah. And third, there's this underlying point about power needing, well, a moral purpose. Duryodhana's cause is, let's face it, pretty shaky ethically, rooted in jealousy and injustice. And that internal contradiction, that lack of a solid moral foundation, arguably weakens his side from the start. True strength needs principles, right?
Power without ethics or for a bad cause is maybe inherently unstable.
I think that's implied. And finally, Duryodhana himself shows how ego can blind you. He's so focused on looking strong, listing his warriors, that he seems completely unaware of the fault lines, the lack of real unity, the potential weaknesses within his own camp.
Yeah. He can't see the forest for the trees, maybe.
Yeah.
Too caught up in the image. Have you seen leaders like that? So focused on projecting strength, they miss the real problems.
It's a classic trap, isn't it? Hubris. It underlines how important self-awareness is, knowing your weaknesses, not just boasting about your strengths.
Now, there's another way to look at the Mahabharata, isn't there? Not just as history or myth, but as like an allegory for our own internal struggles.
Yes, many people interpret it that way, as a map of the battles we fight inside ourselves. So if we look at verse 8 through that lens, these warriors could represent different parts of us. Does that resonate with you?
It does. It's a really interesting idea. So Bhishma, bound by his vow, maybe he represents our values, our core principles, the things we feel we have to uphold, even when it's difficult or conflicts with what we want right now.
Exactly. Or maybe long-held traditions we feel bound by. And Karna, fiercely loyal because of past kindness. Maybe he's our passions, our strong commitments. Maybe even past hurts or gratitudes that dictate our current allegiances.
Okay. And Ashwatthama, that raw, volatile power.
Maybe our anger, our impulsiveness, those powerful emotions that can be destructive if they're not, managed.
Makes sense. And Vikarna, the one who spoke out.
That could be our conscience, right? That inner voice nagging us about right and wrong, even if the rest of us wants to go along with the crowd.
And Duryodhana himself, listing his strengths, but driven by insecurity.
He's the ego, isn't he? That part of us that craves approval, fears inadequacy, and maybe puffs itself up to hide it.
So the question becomes, in our own internal battlefield, who's actually in charge? Are we letting fear and ego like Duryodhana call the shots? Or are we trying to lead from our values, our conscience, a sense of real purpose?
It's a powerful self-reflection prompt, isn't it? Who are the warriors on your internal team? Are your thoughts, your motivations genuinely aligned with your well-being? Or are some just there out of habit or obligation or fear? Are you relying on warriors whose hearts aren't really in it?
That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Really examining those inner motivations and loyalties.
And sometimes seeing parallels in stories we know, or even in the real world, can help make these ideas clearer. Can we think of examples from, say, pop culture or even business that echo these themes from verse 8? Things people listening might recognize.
Oh, for sure. Like, think about stories involving power and loyalty. Maybe something like The Godfather, you have these powerful figures surrounded by people who seem loyal, but often it's loyalty built on fear or obligation, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And when things get shaky or there's internal conflict, that kind of loyalty evaporates pretty fast because it wasn't built on real trust or shared values.
Yeah.
Have you seen that kind of dynamic play out in, say,
Absolutely. Or even in big fantasy or sci-fi stories. Look at Thanos in the Avengers. He has these incredibly powerful lieutenants, right? But why are they following him? Fear, ambition. It's not really a shared, noble purpose. And ultimately, that lack of true cohesion, that moral hollowness, plays a part in his defeat.
That's a great example. And in the business world, you hear about toxic leadership all the time. A leader might assemble a team of really talented people, A players. But if the culture is based on fear, if there's no trust, no shared vision beyond just hitting targets,
Then people become disengaged.
Right.
Even the best performers might just go through the motions, or worse, subtly undermine things. It really mirrors Duryodhana's situation, having the resources, the warriors, but lacking that essential glue of trust and unified commitment.
Exactly. It just goes to show how these dynamics, power, loyalty, insecurity, the need for a moral compass,
Yeah.
they're not just ancient history. They play out everywhere, all the time.
Absolutely. These are timeless human themes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 1, Verse 8, it's really clear this isn't just a list. Not by a long shot. It's incredibly rich, full of ego, insecurity, complex relationships, and these fundamental ideas about leadership and internal conflict.
Yeah, this single verse gives us such a potent snapshot of the very beginning of the war. It shows the psychological cracks, the ethical tensions that are already there, right under the surface, in Duryodhana's camp. The seeds of conflict are sown internally, even before the first arrow flies.
And it leaves us, and hopefully everyone listening, with a really provocative thought. That battlefield isn't just out there, Kurukshetra, whatever challenge you're facing, it's also in here. It's this ongoing internal process. So as you go about your life dealing with your own challenges, maybe it's worth reflecting. Who's in your inner army? What's really driving your choices, your allegiances?
It's a crucial question, maybe the crucial question. Are your decisions coming from a place of secure inner purpose, from your values? Or are they driven by that Duryodhana-like ego, always seeking external validation, always maybe a little bit scared underneath? Something to keep asking ourselves.
Definitely something to ponder. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you. It was fascinating to explore.
Until next time, keep thinking about these ideas and the enduring wisdom we can find, even in a single verse.